talking about the podcast, you are a host of an amazing podcast called the VOC Podcast VOC, that I personally enjoy very very much. And in that podcast, you mainly focus on talking to voice actors from the gaming community, and from the industry. And obviously, I highly recommend to anybody listening and anybody watching to check out the podcast. It'll be linked down below. Now, what I'm really interested in is kind of the origin story of the podcast. As a podcaster speaking to a podcaster, I want to know the origin story. That's very interesting to me. So, how did that all start?
Well, again, it features Ellen McLean. Well, I was a huge fan of her, and I needed to find a way to, I knew, and I still know that I'm probably not going to be meeting her in person. And I think I stumbled upon some interviews with her on the internet, and I was like, maybe I could talk to her in like a Zoom call. This was at the time of the pandemic, right? So it was pretty convenient, Zoom and everything. So
Yeah,
I reached out to her husband on Facebook, actually, believe it or not, and I was able to arrange
interesting.
an
Okay,
interview. But I was this shy kid, and I was, afraid. I never had the thoughts of having a podcast or anything like that. I just wanted to meet her and tell her how much I love her, and, I do this impression and, whatever. But, they told me that it would have to be recorded as like an interview because they can't just connect with everyone in a call because then they would have no time for anything at all. And I understood that, of course. I know
got
they
it.
didn't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah,
So I knew that I had to have it recorded, and I knew that I couldn't do it alone because I would be so stressed out. So I needed a friend, and I had the right person at the right time. My co-host Sam, entity who helped me and has been on the journey with me for a long time. And thanks to him that we have this podcast because, he had his connections and we had a logo, then an animation of the logo and everything. So it's, yeah. And we named it Voc because, of vocal. So yeah, which
okay,
is,
got it.
connects and is related to voice actors. So I thought it was
Okay,
convenient. Actually, it was Sam's father who came up with the name. It's pretty
that's
funny.
awesome, man. Wow, that's cool. It's crazy how sometimes these origin stories are really something that you didn't intend to do, but it just so happened and you just went with it. And I think this is the perfect example of that, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. So you reached out to her husband, the husband answered you back, you organized an interview, they told you to make it recorded, and that's where the idea popped up to make the
Yeah, and
podcast.
after, our talk with
Awesome.
Ellen, we came up like, maybe we could talk to the other Team Fortress 2 voices, like, Heavy Weapons guy or
Right,
whatever. And
right.
yeah, then we did interview after interview, and now suddenly it's been going on for 4 years and 48 episodes, and wow.
Yeah, man. Wow. And what, over 3,000 subscribers?
Over 7,000 right now, yeah.
Over 7,000. Oh,
Hopefully we'll
sorry.
reach 10,000 this year. But if not, it's not a problem.
Wonderful. Well, of course, it's not a problem, no, but you have your goals, and hopefully you do reach that and even more. Wow,
Hopefully.
what a wonderful story, man! And you know what? Big props to her husband and Elaine as well. I mean, they were very kind and helping you kickstart the whole journey with your podcast. That's so wonderful,
Yeah,
man.
definitely. It's nice to be thankful to my, idol and to think that she kind of helped me follow my dreams without me knowing what my dreams were. It's really fascinating, and I'm thankful to her to this day.